Hello guys. So in this video, I'll be going over some of the most common questions that you can expect to be asked in an interview for automation engineer position at Capgemini. I will also provide some tips on how you can answer these questions effectively. So let's start with our very first question. What are the different methods used for REST APIs? So before answering this, let's first understand what are REST APIs. So REST stands for Representational State Transfer, and what is that? It's a architectural style for designing the APIs. Now, REST API is generally based on the HTTP protocol, and HTTP protocol is the same protocol which is used by web browsers. So this means that the HTTP protocol, because we are using HTTP protocol here, so it supports same methods as HTTP protocol. So what are those methods? So those common methods are get, put, post, and delete. Now, whenever you want to create a resource, you will use whenever you want to, let's say, retrieve a resource, in that case you will use get. Let's say you want to create a resource, in that case you will use post. And if you want to update an existing resource, we will use put, and if we want to delete that resource, we will use delete. Now, in an interview setting, you could answer this question like this. So there are 5 different methods used for REST APIs: get, put, post, and delete. Get is used to retrieve the data from source. Post is used to create a new resource. Put is used to update the existing resource, and delete is used to delete that existing resource. You can also give some examples. So you could say the get method is often used to retrieve a list of resources such as list of products, list of users. The post method is often used to create a new resource such as creating a user account or creating a new order. And put is used to update the existing resource such as updating a user profile or updating a product price. And delete is used to delete a resource such as deleting a account or deleting a product. So this way you can answer this question. So let's move to our next question. What are HTTP status codes and why do you get them? So let's answer the first part of this question. So HTTP status codes are nothing but these are some numbers which tells you how your request was handled by the server. So there are 5 different classes of these HTTP status codes. So we are having 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, and 5x. So 1x denotes the information of the status code. So if you get this means that your request is currently being processed. If you get let's say 2x status code, so this means that success. So your request is successfully performed. 3x denotes the redirection. So this means that you need to take some further actions. For example, let's say your page is moved to some other page, or your website is moved to some other website now. So if you're trying to access the previous website, then it can show further steps. So you can reach out to the updated website. Now 4x denotes the client side errors. So if something went wrong at the client side, so they are denoted by the 4x errors. Now 5x denotes the server side error. So if something wrong while processing the request, then you will get these 5x status codes. Now here are some examples which you can see to understand what different status code means. So here we are having 2x series, 200, which represents OK, means your request is successfully performed and you get some output. Similarly, we are having 400, right, which represent the bad request, means your request is not fulfilled because of some reasons. Then we are having 401, which represents unauthorized, means your credentials are not right, so you didn't get the access. 404 denotes the error, means something not found. So let's say you are looking for a website which doesn't exist, then you will get this error. 500 you will get it's a server side error. So if something went wrong while processing your request, you will get this error. Now in an interview setting, how to answer this question? So in the interview setting, you can answer it like saying HTTP status codes are 3-digit numbers that are returned by your web server in response to a request from a web browser. The first digit of the status code indicates the general type of response, while the second and third provide more specific information about it. Now we are having 5 types of status codes: 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, and 5x. So 1x means informational status code, which indicate that the request was received and is being processed. 2x represent success status code. It indicates that the request was successfully received, understood, and accepted. 3x denote redirection status codes. So it indicates that the further action need to be taken in order to fulfill our request. 4x denote client error codes, like it indicate your request contains some sort of bad index, bad syntax. Because of that, your request is not fulfilled and you are getting some client side errors. Then we have 5x, which the server side status code, which indicates that the server failed to fulfill the request apparently. Now let's come to the second part of that question, that is why you get them. So you might get a HTTP status code for a variety of reasons, including the request was malformed, the server is overloaded, the server is down, the request resource does not exist. So in most cases, you can solve these status code by correcting the error that is causing it. For example, if the request was malformed, you can try resubmitting the request with the correct syntax. If the request resource does not exist, then you can try searching for that resource on a different website. If the server is overloaded, you can try waiting for few minutes and then submit the request again. If the server is down, so you can try connecting with the admin to see why the server is down and when will be it will be backed up, will be live, right? So this way you can answer this question. So let's move to our next question, that is what are the different types of authorization and authentication. So before answering this, let's first understand what authorization and authentication mean. So authentication is how we verify who a user is, while authorization is how we determine what a user is allowed to do. So there are many different ways to authenticate a user. Some common methods include password. So this is the most common one. We can give username and password to gain access. Then we have multi-factor. This means that we provide more information about the user to gain access, such as the code on their phone or OTP you can say. Then we have biometric. This is like uses some physical characteristics, your fingerprints, your face recognition, or some sort of user identity. So once a user has been authenticated, we need to determine what they are allowed to do, what permissions they have. So this is basically done through authorization. So there are many different ways to authorize a user. Some common method include role-based authentication. This determines what user can do based on their roles on the organization. For example, a manager may be allowed to approve an expense while an employee may not. Similarly, attribute based authentication. So this means that this determines what a user can do based on their attributes. Attributes such as like the departments or the job title or the location. So let's take an example, like let's say there is a user in a marketing department. So that user may have access to access the marketing data, right? But a user is in sales department, so that particular person cannot access the marketing data. He or she is only authorized to access the sales data. So I guess now authorization is authentication is clear. Now let's see how you can answer this in interview setting. So in an interview setting, you can answer this like this. There are many different types of authentication and authorization mechanisms. Some of the most common types of authentication mechanism include password authentication, multi-factor authentication, biometric authentication. Some of the most common types of authorization mechanism include role-based access control or attribute-based access control. You could then provide some examples how each mechanism is used. For example, you could say password authentication is most common type of authentication. Users are required to enter username, password to gain the access to a system resource. Multi-factor authentication required user to provide two or more pieces of evidence to verify their identity. So, for example, user may require to enter a username, password, as well as the code on their phone, the OTP as well. And biometric authentication uses physical characteristics such as fingerprint, facial recognition to verify the identity of a user. So the type of authentication and authorization used depend on the need of that system or the resource. For example, a system that stores sensitive data may require multi-factor authentication or role-based authentication, while there is a system which doesn't contain any sensitive information, so it can be accessed by normal username and password. So guys, that's all for this video. I hope you learned something, and if you have any question, please leave a comment below. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting new videos every week, and thanks for watching.